So the White House just passed an executive order which many are saying is going to have a really big impact on the housing market. What they passed was a nationwide moratorium on renter evictions until December 31st, 2020. So essentially, if you own any rental properties and your tenants have not paid you rent for a few months now, you are not allowed to evict them in many situations until January of next year. So you can probably already see how this could get out of hand really quickly. So obviously this is not a great time to be a landlord, but it's also not a great time to be a tenant either, because your landlord is not just going to forgive your rental payments. Instead, what they're doing is just tallying up your debt to them, and that debt is going to be due in one lump sum come January 2021, or you may face eviction at that point. So today I wanted to break down this executive order, go over why they're implementing it, and how it's going to impact the housing market overall. Now there are some small caveats to this eviction ban. In order to qualify for this, you have to make less than $99,000 a year as a single person, or less than $198,000 a year as a married couple. But realistically, that's probably 95% of the renters out there can check that box. And in order to qualify, you have to state that you are suffering from a financial hardship and that you cannot make your monthly rent because of the pandemic. You also have to show that you made an effort to file for government assistance. So essentially, if you filed for unemployment, then you can check that box off as well. Lastly, you have to state that if you were to be evicted, that you would be forced to live either in a homeless shelter or have to cohabitate with somebody else. So essentially, if you had to move back in with your parents or move in with a roommate, then you can check that box as well. Now, something to point out is that this is not rent forgiveness. You are still gonna owe your landlord all the back rent up until January 2021. So let's say your rent was $1,500 a month and you took advantage of this eviction moratorium to not pay your rent until January 2021. So that means if you stop paying your rent from now until then, you're gonna owe your landlord $5,500 come January. And if you've already missed several of your rent payments, then that number could be a lot higher. And if you can't pay that amount in full come January, then at that point your landlord can evict you and could even take you to court for back rent. So really, this is a bit of a big gamble. The White House is now gambling that come January 2021, our economy, and specifically the middle class who makes up the bulk of renters, is going to be back on track and making money. Because if it's not, what they've really done here is just created a ticking time bomb of evictions early next year. Now, according to the Aspen Institute, 30 to 40 million Americans are at risk of being evicted from their rental properties over the next few months. And this is a big reason why the White House is using an executive order to enforce this moratorium on evictions. Despite the White House trying to discredit the CDC in the past, they are actually crediting the CDC with this decision. The CDC has come out and said that if we see an increase in evictions, we're also going to see an increase in occupants at homeless shelters, as well as an increase in families cohabitating together. And if 30 to 40 million Americans are forced to live in homeless shelters or move back in with their parents or get a roommate, the CDC predicts that we're going to see an increase in the spread of the pandemic. So this eviction crisis is really a national health crisis. Now there's another big influencer which I think we have to acknowledge, and that's that this is an election year, and the optics of millions of families being evicted and many of them forced to live in homeless shelters is probably not one that the White House wants right now. Now the big question though is, how is this executive order going to impact the housing market? Well, we're already seeing a lot of landlords really struggling right now to keep up with their mortgage payments on the rental units in which those tenants are not paying rent right now. So now it's looking like many of these landlords are going to be stuck paying mortgages on rental properties that don't have any rental income coming in until at least the end of the year. So I currently have one rental property and my mortgage payment's about $1,400 a month on it. And I gotta be honest, I don't know how long I could or I would want to continue making that mortgage payment without any rental income coming in. Now, if your tenant has not paid rent since the start of this pandemic, by the time this moratorium is over, they're gonna owe you almost an entire year's worth of rent all in one lump sum. And the truth is, most of the tenants out there are not gonna have that much money available and they're gonna get evicted anyway. And the eviction process itself can take 1 to 2 months, and when you factor in the time to get a new tenant in there, that means many of these landlords are gonna be stuck paying their own mortgage payments on rental properties, as well as property management fees, as well as maintenance for over a year. So you can see how quickly this can snowball and how bad of a situation many landlords all across the country are going to be in at the start of next year. Now, typically if a landlord was in a situation like this, many of them would just let their property go into foreclosure and just be done with the whole situation. But many states and federal loan programs also have a foreclosure moratorium right now as well. So what we're really creating here is a ticking time bomb of foreclosures and rental evictions. So instead of seeing a slow, consistent rate of foreclosures and evictions over, let's say, 12 months, we're instead going to see 12 months of foreclosures and evictions all at the exact same time. And the truth is, we don't know how the real estate market, the banks, and our economy is going to react to that. Right now, we have such a high demand for real estate and such low inventory that it could be, if we saw an increase in foreclosures, we may just enter into a more of a balanced market, which is not a terrible thing. But it's also possible that the banks could lose billions of dollars because of all these foreclosures. That could lead to them tightening up their lending requirements, which means less buyers in the market, which would send us into an unbalanced market. And if that occurred, that could impact the value of your home. So the truth is, we don't really know what's going to happen next. We're in completely unprecedented times right now, and tomorrow the White House could release a new executive order, or Congress or your state's governor could pass a new law, or the Federal Reserve could take some new action, which is going to greatly change the direction that our economy is going in and what our ultimate outcome is. All we can really do now is just kind of sit back and watch. So if you want to learn more about why many people are saying there's going to be a housing crash in 2021, check out my video right here breaking down that theory and giving you my thoughts on that. Don't forget to subscribe for more real estate and financial advice. Hit that little bell icon to get notified every time I upload a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you over in the next video.